My name is Meredith Knox, and for 9 years straight, I was the family embarrassment with a laptop. The cousin with potential but no proper job title. The one who showed up to holidays alone, who worked from coffee shops and airport lounges, whose tax returns confused even the family accountant. That was me, Meredith, the quiet one who did something with the internet, while my cousin Lindsay wore her LinkedIn endorsements like designer heels. But everything changed the year of the turkey speech. It happened in the middle of dinner. A full table, roasted carrots, cranberry sauce, and the quiet chime of cutlery against porcelain. My uncle had just finished his annual toast about family strength when Lindsay set down her wine glass, cleared her throat, and said, "Honestly, Meredith, when are you going to get a real job?" I blinked. My fork hovered midair. The table fell silent. "I mean, you're 35. Still freelancing," she continued, laughing gently. "Not freelancing, building your brand." The word twisted in her mouth like it had expired. I glanced around. My aunt was pretending to check the stuffing. My younger brother's eyes went wide. Even my dad shifted in his seat. But no one said anything. They rarely did when Lindsay spoke. Not when she was in full blazer and Bordeaux mode. She had just made senior VP at a boutique marketing firm in Manhattan, and her voice had taken on the slow, practiced cadence of someone used to being listened to. "Do you even make enough to live off that?" she added, tilting her head. "Or is this still a phase?" I set my fork down. My palms were suddenly warm. "I do fine," I said quietly. "Well, hey," she smiled. "Everyone's definition of success is different, I guess." She raised her glass. My cousin Jessie let out a nervous chuckle. Someone coughed. And then the moment passed, folded like a napkin and stuffed between mashed potatoes and family small talk. But I didn't forget. Because Lindsay had no idea who she was talking to. She didn't know that the freelance brand she mocked was actually a consultancy. One with 7 remote employees, 12 active retainer clients, and a back-end deal with a Fortune 500 company she'd named in 3 separate brag toasts over the years. She didn't know that my newsletter crossed 80,000 subscribers that month, or that one of the brand campaigns I ghost-led had just hit $9.6 million in tracked revenue. But I said nothing. I didn't correct her. I didn't announce numbers or wave a slideshow of screenshots and contracts. I just smiled, took a sip of water, and excused myself to the kitchen, where I leaned against the sink and stared out at the snow-dusted yard, pulse steady, heart like ice. Because that moment, that was the beginning of something. And she had no idea what was coming next. Lindsay and I used to be close. At least, that's what the old photo albums would suggest. 2 blonde cousins, barefoot in the backyard, chasing fireflies and giggling over popsicles that melted too fast. But proximity isn't the same as closeness. And somewhere between adolescence and adulthood, we shifted. She went east. Ivy League, investment internships, a curated Instagram life of rooftop brunches and beach Pilates. I stayed in Illinois. State school, laptop work, and a Craigslist roommate named Danny who crocheted goth plushies and taught me how to rebuild a garbage disposal with a spoon. Lindsay's success always came dressed in approval. Whenever she spoke, relatives leaned forward. My grandmother once told me she had a broadcast voice.
She meant it as a compliment.
I heard it as a prophecy. The first time I realized Lindsay saw me as less was at our grandmother's funeral. We were both 26. I'd flown in from Portland, red-eye, still wearing my black hoodie from the plane. She arrived in a pressed navy dress and called me brave for wearing sneakers. Later, she told the funeral director she'd handle the family flowers and then promptly forgot. I covered the bill, but I never said a word. That was my habit. Silence. Let the moment pass.
Keep the peace.
I think part of me thought it was maturity. The other part, maybe, didn't think I deserved the confrontation. But over the years, Lindsay's comments sharpened. "I'd die if I had to work in sweatpants. You're lucky your rent's so cheap out there. I envy your freedom. Must be nice not having to lead a team." I never fired back, because by then I was too busy building something real. Not flashy, not loud, but real. I had started small. Just copywriting for struggling online stores. Then content strategy. Then voice development. Then leadership coaching. I grew slow, careful. I built client rosters one Zoom call at a time. By year 5, I had a company name. By year 6, a team. By year 8, a quiet, steady monthly revenue with 6 zeros a year. I never posted about it. Not once. And maybe that's why Lindsay still thought I was a fluke. Because I didn't wear it on my sleeve. Because I still drove the same car I did in college. Still lived in the same walk-up apartment with my cactus named Howard and a pantry full of off-brand cereal. But what Lindsay didn't realize was that my work wasn't supposed to look glamorous. It was supposed to work.
And it did.
So after Thanksgiving, I sent out an email.
Subject:
Cyclone new internship opening. Q1 remote brand strategy rotation. It was part of a new mentorship pipeline I'd been planning. Just one opening. Paid well. Open to candidates with no industry background, as long as they had curiosity, grit, and writing instincts. 2 weeks later, my assistant forwarded the shortlist. There were 12 names. And the 9th one hit me like cold water. Lindsay Morgan Delacroix. The same cousin who said I didn't have a real job. Who once called my email signature tragically cute. Who had no idea the company she just applied to was mine. I stared at her name for a long time. Not because I was angry. Not even surprised, really. Just struck by the irony. The woman who had called my work embarrassing at Thanksgiving was now pitching herself as a quick study with a passion for authentic branding, asking for a shot at an entry-level internship. In my company. Under my leadership. She didn't know. Of course she didn't. My consultancy didn't bear my full name. My LinkedIn presence was bare bones on purpose. I didn't do press. Most of our leads came from referrals, closed-door speaking gigs, and a newsletter signed only MK. To people like Lindsay, I didn't exist. But here she was in my applicant pool. She had attached a PDF resume and a short cover letter.
Polished. Tidy.
Safe. She referenced my company's elegant but bold brand tone and said she wanted to learn from a small, agile team doing meaningful digital work. I highlighted one line. I've worked with large firms, but I'm craving mentorship from someone grounded, someone who didn't climb the ladder the traditional way. I let that sentence sit for a while. Then I sent it to my assistant with 2 words. Let's interview. The calendar invite went out within hours. Calendar subject, finalist interview. Brand strategy intern. Desktop computer platform, Zoom. Microphone interviewer, Meredith K. Lead strategist. She accepted. I prepped my notes, cleaned my camera lens, and brewed the strongest coffee I had. The next morning, at 10 a.m. sharp, her name appeared in the waiting room. I clicked admit. And there she was, Lindsay, in a cream blazer and pearl earrings, sitting in front of a tastefully curated bookshelf. Oh, she said, blinking.
Wow.
Meredith? I smiled.
Lindsay.
Thanks for making time. There was a long pause. She shifted, visibly trying to recalibrate. I didn't realize. I saw the MK on the email, but I didn't connect. That's all right, I said calmly. Let's begin. She nodded too quickly. I asked the standard questions. Why brand strategy? Why now? What drew her to the company? She answered with polish, if not depth. I watched her squirm slightly when she realized I was asking her to reflect, not perform. At the end of the interview, I said, "Do you have any questions for me?" She hesitated. Then, "How did you get started in this work?" It was the first genuine thing she'd asked. So I answered. "Freelance," I said. Then systems. Then scale. I started from a couch after a layoff. I had a cracked screen and a borrowed hotspot. But I listened more than I spoke. Watched what clients didn't know they needed. Lindsay was quiet. Then she said softly, "This is your company, isn't it?" I nodded. "And you?" "I'm the founder." "Yes." Her mouth parted. I saw the memory flicker behind her eyes. Thanksgiving, the cranberry sauce, the quiet insult. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I know," I said. There was silence.
Heavy. Honest.
And then I smiled again. We'll be in touch. Lindsay started 2 weeks later. She showed up to the Monday onboarding call in a crisp blouse and blazer, too formal for a remote team where most of us wore sweatshirts and spoke in Slack emojis, but no one said anything. She introduced herself in our morning huddle, voice tight, posture straight. Excited to learn, she said, and grateful for the opportunity. No one knew we were cousins. I hadn't told the team. I wanted her to have a clean slate, or at least the illusion of one. Let the work do the talking. The internship was 6 weeks.
Paid. Structured. No fluff.
She shadowed brand audits, sat in on client feedback sessions, wrote draft copy that bled with overpolish at first, too corporate, too loud, but week by week, it softened. She started asking better questions, reading more, listening. By week 4, she submitted a voice guide for a small wellness startup. And it was good.
Honest. Clean.
It had a pulse. That's the first time I've ever written something that didn't feel like a performance, she said quietly during our 1:1. That's the first time I've seen you write like you respect the reader, I replied. She nodded, took the note, and kept working.
No tears. No ego.
Just the slow, unglamorous climb of humility. And then came the Thursday presentation. Each intern was asked to pitch a mock rebrand for a legacy company. 5 slides. 10 minutes. Lindsay's topic, a regional bakery chain struggling to attract younger customers. She presented clean strategy, clear tone mapping, and a brilliant pivot concept. Heritage, not outdated. Then, on the final slide, she paused. I used to think success looked like upward mobility, she said, scanning the Zoom room. Like louder titles, faster promotions, more eyes on your wins. But I've been learning something different here. She turned, looking straight at me. Real success is quieter. It's doing meaningful work even when no one's clapping. It's building something real, especially when people don't believe in you. A long pause. And sometimes, she added, those people are sitting at the same dinner table. The room was silent. And for the first time in years, I felt something soften between us. Not apology. Not explanation. Just recognition. Later that night, she sent me a Slack message. I don't know if you'll ever fully believe it, but I needed this internship more than you needed to give it. Thank you. I replied with a single line. You earned it. The following week, my lead strategist and I had a decision to make. One of our full-time coordinator positions had opened. The team had unanimously recommended a hire, and we offered it to Lindsay. She accepted. No dramatic speech.
No champagne.
Just a quiet, steady yes. At the next Thanksgiving, she sat beside me, refilling water glasses and laughing gently at the new baby cousin chewing on a dinner roll. When someone asked her where she worked now, she simply said, brand strategy, remote team. It's a lot of learning and a lot of listening. She didn't say my name. She didn't have to, because the real power shift had already happened. Not on Zoom, not in a job title, but in the quiet rewiring of what she thought success was supposed to look like. And for once, she didn't need to be admired. She just needed to belong. And this time she did.